Ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms. Welcome back to the channel here on YouTube.com. It is Monday, June 8th, 2020. This is the official rewind for NXT TakeOver in your house, which of course streamed live on the WWE Network yesterday evening starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We are here to go over everything on the show. We had 6 matches on the show. Reason why there was no Lightning Flash update on Saturday was because I was down the shore. I was on vacation. I had a great time down at Long Beach Island. Very nice and relaxing over there. Water was freezing, actually. It was only like 60 degrees, so hopefully it should warm up later on in the summer. Not many places were open, obviously, because of what's going on, but I still had a good time. I still had a relaxing weekend. And now I am back to brand business matters here. I got the rewind here. I got the rundown for Backlash coming up on Friday, Lightning Flash update on Saturday, and then the rewind for Backlash, of course, coming up next Monday. The rundown for TakeOver in Your House with Earl Cole actually did really well. Almost 200 views, almost 30 likes, so thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing your support there. Speaking of Earl Cole, I actually do want to send my condolences out to Earl Cole and his family. He actually texted me as I was coming back from the shore yesterday that his aunt recently just passed away. So I do want to send out my condolences to Earl Cole and his family, my thoughts and prayers as well. Earl, if you're watching, please know that your aunt loved you, and she is extremely proud of the man that you are today. My thoughts and prayers are with you. I hope everything works out okay, and I love you, man. Couple of things before we get started. Please follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS. Follow me on Instagram and Periscope at the DJ Storms. Add me on Facebook as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. StormsTakeOver@gmail.com is my email. Like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms posse group on Facebook, that is. Please hit that like button if you haven't already done so. We're going to try and get this video to 25 thumbs up. The Lightning Flash update from last week actually got over 40 likes. So that is actually going to be a planned goal in the future. If that keeps up consistently and we can get 40 likes on every video, that's definitely going to be a future goal. But right now, we're just going to stick to 20 to 25. Please help me get this video to 20 to 25 likes. Comment down below what was your favorite match from NXT TakeOver in your house, and what was your least favorite match from NXT TakeOver in your house. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. We are over 2,000. We're on the road to 2,100. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it's the best time to be on YouTube. The only place you're going to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination combined with this fresh quarantine mustache. You knew I had to throw that in there. You knew I had to throw that. I mean, come on. You knew I had to get some type of cocky DJ Storms comment in there. We do this DJ Storm style. Nobody else. Nobody else does it DJ Storm style. Only me. Only me. All the links are in the description. If you want to check out my social media links, if you want to check out the link to Blue Riot Podcast, shout out to the Blue Riot. Please go follow the podcast on Twitter at Blue Riot Pod. Him and me, we've been having a blast doing the Blue Riot Storms review. And on Thursday of this week, actually, episode number 10 of the Blue Riot Storms review, episode 10 of Darkamite, where we review AEW Dark and AEW Dynamite. That is going up on Thursday at noon. So if you want to go check that out, please go check out Blue Riot Podcast. Look up Blue Riot Podcast on all platforms where you find your podcasts, whether that be Anchor or Spotify or Podbean or iTunes. The iTunes link is in the description, so please go and check that out. Again, it is up on Thursday at noon. Shout out to the Blue Riot. Please go follow the podcast on Twitter as well, at Blue Riot Pod. We're going to be doing episode 10. I don't know if we have a celebration plan, but I'll be sure to talk to him. It's going to be a great week. It's going to be a great week. I do have to hit up Jay Leto, I believe. I want to make sure he's still good for the rundown for Backlash. That's going to be on Friday. But ladies and gentlemen, enough of the self-brand promotion, enough of the advertisements. let's get straight into the rewind for NXT TakeOver in your house. Beginning thoughts, I do want to say that I thought it was a decent NXT TakeOver. I would probably rate this a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10. It definitely was not up to par with Portland or the past takeovers that we've seen, considering that the era that we're living in, specifically with the coronavirus and how we can't have people in the audience, that definitely brought the show down from what it could have been. Because the card itself looked like a stacked TakeOver card, and I was very, very, very pleased with the card on paper, but the show itself did not live up to normal TakeOver expectations because of what's going on right now, and we couldn't have that energetic crowd that we had back in Portland. Because if Dominik Dijakovic and Keith Lee put on a match like they did back in Portland, if they put on a match like that here, I don't think it would have been as well received without a crowd rather than with the crowd. But regardless, it was a decent NXT TakeOver. It was a decent NXT TakeOver. It had a lot of good moments. It had a lot of questionable moments, specifically 2 questionable winners, which I will go over. But first things first, I do want to say that the In Your House set looked great. The presentation was beautiful. I thought the entire layout on the In Your House set was very, very, very well done, and they gave you that nice nostalgic feel. And a lot of people that grew up watching In Your House, now I did not grow up watching In Your House, but I have gone back to watch a few In Your Houses back in the day, and I actually enjoyed the presentation of In Your House. I enjoyed the fun little nostalgic callbacks that they did here for NXT TakeOver. It was a nice throwback. It was a nice throwback. I'm pretty sure it brought a lot of people back to their childhood. A lot of people who are in their 30s, who are in their 40s, going back to the 1990s and watching In Your House. I'm pretty sure that they had a real fun time watching all those In Your Houses back in the day. So the presentation of the set was beautiful. That was my first thought. And Code Orange, they did play their theme song. I believe it was, what was it, Underneath, I believe. Now, I am not a Code Orange guy. I remember they did one song for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3, Bleeding in the Blur. And I didn't really like that song. I thought that was a terrible song. I didn't really like the flow of that song. But this song was actually not that bad. And I may go out of my way and buy it. Now I don't have Spotify. I have iTunes. Fucking sue me. But the show started off with Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Nox, and Mia Yim taking on Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai, and Candice LeRae. 6-woman tag team match. This was decent. It was a decent 6-woman tag, but this was not TakeOver worthy. And this is a brutal dose of reality here for you. This match was not TakeOver worthy, nor did it belong on the show. And I am thinking to myself, they literally just put this match on the show just for the sake of putting this match on the show. This match did not have any semblance of importance whatsoever. You take a look at TakeOver Portland and the 6 matches that they had at TakeOver Portland, and you look up and down that card, and all of those matches had a semblance of importance, and all those matches felt like they belonged. I can't say the same about this 6-woman tag. This 6-woman tag was literally just put there for the sake of getting a second women's match on the show. Yes, the NXT women's division is the best women's division in the world, bar none. That's an indisputable fact. But that doesn't mean that we needed to get this 6-woman tag on the show, especially because of the simple fact that none of these women are really going to be factoring into the NXT Women's Championship title picture throughout the course of the summer. So I don't really understand why this match was even on the show. This match originally started with a feud with Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox, which stemmed back all the way to TakeOver War Games and Dakota Kai's initial heel turn. And Dakota Kai actually at one point was the best heel in the women's division, so much so that I was actually saying that she should be in top contention for the NXT Women's Championship. I'm not saying that now, especially since they added Raquel Gonzalez, who's terrible. Raquel Gonzalez is atrocious. She reminds me so much of Braun Strowman, and you do not want to be on Braun Strowman levels of bad. Raquel Gonzalez is not impressive whatsoever, and she has hampered Dakota Kai's heel character down so much. Dakota Kai has lost so much of her momentum. So, originally, this started out between Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, and the blow-off realistically should have taken place with the steel cage match. That didn't happen. They added Raquel, and then they added Shotzi, and then it became 2-on-2, and then ever since WrestleMania, we saw some type of combination of Shotzi versus Raquel, or Shotzi versus Kai, or Tegan versus Raquel, and we saw that every other week. And now recently they just added Mia Yim and Candice LeRae to make it 3-on-3. So much so now, it's been going on since November to a point where I'm just saying, just end it already. It's overstayed its welcome. It's well past its expiration date. And a lot of people have been saying that as well. A lot of people were saying, why is this match even on the show? I don't care about this match. I was scrolling up and down my Twitter timeline. People legitimately didn't care about this match. It was a decent match, don't get me wrong. It wasn't a bad match whatsoever, but in no way, shape, or form was it important, and it didn't belong on TakeOver. I'm actually questioning, and a lot of people were actually questioning, why they didn't put Breezango versus Imperium on the show, considering that match is for the Tag Team Championships, and that match has a semblance of importance, because it would have been Imperium's first title defense on a TakeOver. Especially since the tag team division is really starting to come back into play in NXT. Because ever since the beginning of the quote-unquote Wednesday Night Wars, the tag team division has been NXT's weak point. But recently, with the return of Breezango, you got Imperium as the champions, Indus Sher, who I'm willing to give a chance. You got Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, the Undisputed Era's in there. It's slowly starting to come back into place. So I don't understand why they wouldn't have put the tag team title match on the show so we could actually get a spotlight on the tag team championships and the tag team division as a whole. And we could actually start getting the tag team division back on track. Again, it really felt like they just put this match on the show just for the sake of putting the match on the show. Just because, oh, hey, let's get a second women's match on the show. And this match had no sense of importance whatsoever. And that was pretty much it. Decent match, but it wasn't TakeOver worthy, and it's not something you're going to go back and rewatch. So Shotzi was caught by Raquel and then flung out on the floor. We had a suicide dive by Mia Yim, springboard crossbody by Candice, and a Molly go round by Tegan Nox, taking out everyone. Shotzi was isolated before she made the hot tag to Yim. Yim was on the receiving end of a teardrop suplex by Candice LeRae. Tegan got the hot tag. She lit up Raquel. Raquel caught her and powerbombed her for a 2. Mia Yim and Candice LeRae then brawled into the back, making this a regular tag team match. We had a choke slam on Dakota Kai after Dakota Kai accidentally kicked Raquel. We had a Shiranui by Shotzi Blackheart to Gonzalez, and then Tegan Nox gets the win over Dakota Kai, and the babyfaces walk out victorious. This could have swung either way, but I actually had it in my mind that Candice's team was going to get the win, considering that Candice is a newly turned heel, and she was gaining a lot of momentum on her own. So I thought that Candice LeRae was actually going to get the win here for her team, but the babyfaces actually won, but Candice was not pinned. Candice was not pinned, so I can't really complain about that. And Tegan Nox finally got a win over Dakota Kai after all these months. I can only hope that that's it. I can only hope that that's it. I can only hope that this is over. I can only hope that they're moving on to something else. With Tegan getting the win, I can only hope that Tegan Nox is going to be in contention for the NXT Women's Championship going into the fall. I would definitely love to see a match between Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai. Not Dakota Kai, Io Shirai, rather. I don't know where Dakota Kai goes. I think they'll probably have a feud with Dakota Kai and Shotzi Blackheart. I would much rather see that than them continuing the feud with Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai. But I do think that Tegan Nox is a very nice interim opponent for Io Shirai before Io Shirai eventually drops the title to Candice LeRae. And we'll talk about Io Shirai winning the title later on. But Tegan Nox gets the win for her team. Candice was not pinned, so I have no problem with that. And that was pretty much it. That was it. Decent match. Not TakeOver worthy whatsoever. Shouldn't have even been on the card. The tag team title match realistically should have been on the card. I'm very shocked and a little disappointed that they didn't go with that route. But Tegan Nox gets the win. We could see Tegan Nox in the NXT Women's title picture, possibly in September or October. We'll see what happens. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. This was a great match from start to finish. Excellent, excellent, excellent stuff from bell to bell. The only thing that confused me was the ending. Now, this was Damian Priest's first major singles match on a TakeOver, and you're putting him with a guy like Finn Balor, so right then and there, you have a lot of investment in Damian Priest, and you have a lot of trust in Finn Balor to make Damian Priest look good, and this was undoubtedly Damian Priest's best match in NXT to date. This was his best performance, and it goes to show you how good Priest is and how good Balor is. How good Balor is to make Damian Priest look this good. He made Damian Priest look like a star. And Damian Priest, I've been loving this current character for Damian Priest. I think he's come a very long way since he originally came to NXT as Punishment Martinez. So, Balor hit a woo drop kick right out of the gate before the bell even rang. So Balor went right on the offense. Priest actually stopped Balor's momentum. He set up the bottom of the steel steps. He was on the bottom portion of the steel steps. He stopped Balor mid-sling blade and used the steel steps as a launching pad to deliver a sidewalk slam on the apron to Balor. That was a very innovative move right there. We had a leaping back elbow by Priest. Priest wore down Balor with a hammerlock. Balor was caught with the broken arrow. Priest went for another big move, but Balor did a double leg takedown and hit the double stomp. We then had some back and forth strikes, some forearm strikes. We had a spinning tornado kick by Priest, and then a Pele kick by Finn Balor for a 2. We had Priest delivering the Razor's Edge to Finn Balor on the apron, but that only got a 2. Balor came back with a sling blade. Balor reversed the Reckoning, and then we had a woo drop kick, but Priest stopped Balor on the top rope as he was going for the coup de grace. He had him in a choke slam position. Priest climbed the rope and delivered a middle rope choke slam bomb for a very close 2 count on Finn Balor. Priest had just about enough of Finn Balor, and he was looking for a Razor's Edge off of the apron to the bottom portion of the steel steps. Balor reversed it, and he forearmed Damian Priest. Damian Priest fell back first onto the bottom portion of the steel steps, and I'm telling you, it almost reminded me of when Shawn Michaels was back body dropped over the top rope, and his back, his spine, landed right on the edge of the casket in his casket match with The Undertaker all those years ago. Damian Priest's back looked like it was this close from hitting the edge, that corner of the bottom portion of the steel steps, and he could have been in the same position that Shawn Michaels was in all those years ago. It looked nasty. So Damian Priest was able to fight back. He was able to crawl back in the ring, and I loved what Balor did here. Balor continued to target the back, coup de grace right to the back, and then Finn Balor went up to the top again and hit a second coup de grace for the 1, 2, 3. This match went about 13 minutes. It was a great match. But Priest losing, very, very, very questionable right there, considering how they built up Damian Priest and the position that Balor's in. Damian Priest, he's been having a lot of breakout performances. His triple threat match with Dunn and Dane at TakeOver War Games. We had the North American title matches with Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic. And now we have this match with Finn Balor, which was undoubtedly his best performance to date. But he's been losing and losing and losing and losing. So, I had it in my mind that Damian Priest was going to win, and he was going to move on to something bigger, or they were going to continue the feud. So I don't necessarily know why Finn Balor had to come out victorious. Now, I do have a theory after what happened in the NXT Championship match, which I'll talk about, but in my eyes, I still would have had Damian Priest walk out victorious, considering that he's been doing nothing but losing and losing and losing. He is really treading Johnny Gargano territory in a sense, where he has all these big matches on TakeOver and he's been doing nothing but lose. So it's not really a good look for Damian Priest. I mean, it was a great match. Damian Priest looked great. Balor looked great, but The fact that Damian Priest didn't walk out victorious when, in a sense, he really needed the win, and Balor is so established that even if he takes a loss, that's not going to hurt him. Versus Damian Priest, who has yet to really be established, and he's in a position where he's trying to build legitimacy for himself. It really doesn't make any sense that Damian Priest would take the loss here. Great match. We'll see where it goes. I have a feeling I know where Balor goes, but I really don't know where Damian Priest goes from here. Does he face off against Keith Lee for the North American Championship? I don't think so. Not after what happened in the Karrion Kross Tommaso Ciampa match, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But I really can't support Damian Priest taking the loss here. I still would have had Damian Priest go over in the end, no matter what. Because Finn Balor, like I said, he's invincible. He's the most established star in NXT right now. He could take a loss and he'll be fine. But I have a feeling I know why Finn Balor came out victorious, which we'll talk about later on. But nevertheless, great match. Finn Balor gets the win. Very questionable decision to have Damian Priest lose, considering how they've been building him up and considering that he really needed a much-needed win on a TakeOver. I don't think he has one major singles win on a TakeOver thus far. It's not a good look for him. Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT North American Championship. They put this match on third. Now, a lot of people, including myself, I'm not going to lie, a lot of people, including myself, I believe, were expecting a 5-star classic with Keith Lee and Johnny Gargano. Now, to that I say, that would be the easy thing to do. It's easy to put guys like Keith Lee and Johnny Gargano out there and have them do what Johnny and Adam Cole did from TakeOver New York or TakeOver 25, or have them do what Tommaso Ciampa and Adam Cole did from TakeOver Portland, or have them do what Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic did from TakeOver Portland. It's easy to put guys like that out there and have them put on a 5-star classic for 30 minutes. It's another thing to actually take it old school and tell a great story in the ring. And that's exactly what Gargano and Keith Lee did. This match was very storytelling heavy. This was an old school storytelling match. Now, I'm not going to lie, it did start out lackluster, started out boring, it started out slow. And I was looking through the timeline and I saw some people saying, oh, is it me or is this match boring? Give it time. You were literally watching the match for what, 7-8 minutes and you're already saying that it's boring? Give it some time. Slow your fucking roll and give it some time, people. Now, it did start out boring, it did start out lackluster, but it did pick up in the end, and it did end up being a very good storytelling-heavy match, very old school, and in a sense, you gotta respect Johnny Gargano and Keith Lee for taking it old school. You gotta respect them for taking it old school and putting on a storytelling match rather than a 30-minute 5-star classic with all of these high spots. You need to respect them in a sense because it just goes to show you that Keith Lee and Johnny Gargano can do both sides of wrestling. They can do a 5-star classic and they can do a great storytelling match. So you got to give them credit there. So Gargano, he was caught by Lee twice. Lee actually thwarted Gargano's offense in the early portions of this match. Gargano then targeted the injured hand of Keith Lee that Gargano kicked into the steel steps this past Wednesday on NXT, and this is where the story really started to come into play. The story of the match for Gargano was the injured hand. Gargano then stomped on the hand of Lee. Gargano wrapped the hand in the metal rod between the post and the buckle so that the hand constantly targeted by Johnny Gargano. We had a modified backbreaker by Lee for a 2. Gargano then reversed the Spirit Bomb into an armbar and started to bend the fingers back, just like Pete Dunne. Joint manipulation, continuing to target the hand. The hand was the story. Gargano was then caught with a big lariat by Lee for a 2. I would not want to be on the receiving end of a Keith Lee lariat. We had Johnny Gargano reversing the Big Bang Catastrophe for a very close near fall in a small package. Gargano was then caught with a huge pop-up spinebuster, but Gargano rolled out of the ring. Keith Lee was not quick enough. Gargano took advantage and hit a suicide tornado DDT on the floor. Looked great. Gargano then stopped the referee's count because he could not hoist Keith Lee back into the ring. And then Gargano went back out of the ring. It gave Keith Lee too much time to recover. And Keith Lee pounced Gargano off the floor, over the barricade, through one of the plexiglass panels. Probably one of the best spots of the night. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that. So props to Gargano for taking that. Keith Lee, like a fucking freight train, ran across the floor, pounced Gargano perfectly over the barricade, through the plexiglass. Keith Lee then walked around, picked up Gargano like a small child, and was walking with Gargano back to the ring. Out of nowhere, Candice LeRae came out to stop Lee, but Mia Yim was right behind her. So they continued their brawl. The ref was caught up with Mia Yim and Candice LeRae. Johnny Gargano, and this is where Johnny Gargano was this close to winning the title. I actually thought that Gargano was going to win the title here, as did many people. He took his car keys out of his tights, and he raked the eyes of Keith Lee again, and then hit one final beat. He hit one final beat, the slingshot DDT, but Keith Lee kicked out. This close to becoming the North American champion. Gargano then hit 3 super kicks back to back to back and pinned Keith Lee after every one of those super kicks, but Keith Lee kicked out of all of them. Keith Lee was channeling his inner Drew McIntyre from WrestleMania 36 when he was taking F5 after F5 from Brock Lesnar, but he kept kicking out. So Keith Lee was taking super kick after super kick by Gargano, but Keith Lee kept on kicking out. Keith Lee looked like a beast here. Johnny Gargano went for another super kick, but Keith Lee reversed it. He hit 2 spirit bombs, hoisted up Gargano again onto his shoulders, hit the Big Bang Catastrophe for the win, and Keith Lee remains the North American champion in a very good, very old school, storytelling heavy match. It did not need to be a 5-star classic. And to be quite honest, you gotta respect, like I said, you gotta respect Keith Lee and Johnny Gargano in this sense for showing you that they can do both. They can put on a 5-star classic and they can tell a great story in the ring. Gargano in this new heel character is flawless. Keith Lee, what can I say about Keith Lee? Keith Lee has really come into his own, and Keith Lee has broken out to become probably one of the best things about all of WWE right now. And this was the right outcome. Gargano, he's above the North American Championship. Gargano does not need the North American Championship. Keith Lee, he adds to his already impressive reign. And it sucks that the majority of his reign is going to take place in front of no one except for the PC talent. But Keith Lee so far has been building his resume as possibly the best North American champion to date. Just look at all the matches that he's had. Look at the title defenses that he's had. Gargano, like I said, he didn't need the North American Championship. I thought he was going to win after that one final beat, after the rake of the keys to the eye, but he did not. And this was the right decision. Gargano and Candice LeRae, they are being built up to be the first married couple to be NXT champion and NXT women's champion. And based on what's going on, that's not going to happen until the end of the year, the beginning of 2021. It's not going to happen now. Gargano winning the North American Championship, it wouldn't have made any sense because, again, he doesn't need it. He's above it. Gargano is one of the most established stars in NXT, right next to Tommaso Ciampa and Finn Balor. So if Gargano takes a loss, that's not going to hurt him. That's not going to hurt him. Keith Lee still has some unfinished business with the North American Championship. And Keith Lee, he's not losing that title possibly until August. This was the right outcome. Johnny Gargano, more likely than not, he'll be NXT champion around the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, same time where I believe Candice LeRae will become the NXT Women's Champion, and they will be running NXT going into the new year. Very good storytelling match. Yes, started out lackluster, started out very slow, started out very boring, but it did get better toward the end, and by the end, we did get a very good storytelling match with the right outcome. Gargano didn't need the win. Keith Lee gets the win, and he continues his reign as North American champion. And Gargano, he's going to be fine. He's going to be built up throughout the course of the summer, going into the fall, and he'll be just as legitimate as he was before the loss. Adam Cole versus the Velveteen Dream for the NXT Championship in a Backlot Brawl. Now, I was shocked that they put this match on third to last. And based on what happened, I am not behind the fact that they did this. I do not like this whatsoever. No matter what you think, no matter what you think of the Velveteen Dream, no matter what you think of Adam Cole, no matter if this was cinematic, no matter what you thought of the match, no matter what, this realistically was the most important thing going into the show. Realistically, this was the most important thing going into the show. This storyline has been built up for months now, and it was for the NXT Championship, and you're putting it on third to last? I don't like that. I don't like that whatsoever. This storyline has been highlighted a lot, and this storyline has been built up for a long, long time with the Backlot Brawl stipulation for the NXT Championship. Adam Cole's the longest reigning NXT champion in NXT's history, and will probably go down as the greatest NXT champion in NXT history. And you do not have him in the main event? You don't have him in the main event? Not a good look whatsoever. No matter what you think of the match, no matter what you think of both men, no matter what you think, NXT Championship should close out the show. Because it was the most important thing on the show. It was the most important storyline built up going into NXT TakeOver in your house. Now, the match itself was fairly disappointing. Fairly disappointing in the early portions. I believe this went about 15 minutes. And halfway through, it was very disappointing, very slow, very uncreative. It was almost giving me Jon Moxley, Jake Hager vibes, which is never a good thing. Now, it really didn't start to pick up until Dexter Lumis showed up. And then the outcome itself really did surprise me. Now, Adam Cole came riding in on a monster truck, which was awesome. Dream came in looking like Negan from The Walking Dead. Now, for you Walking Dead fanatics out there, I'm pretty sure a lot of you marked out. Me personally, I'm not a Walking Dead fan. I'm not a Walking Dead fan, even though I like zombie apocalypse material. I do. I do like zombie apocalypse material, but The Walking Dead just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is, but Velveteen Dream looked like a badass regardless. Velveteen Dream looked like a badass. He came in with a baseball bat. I love the way that Velveteen Dream came in. So, Dream tried to end Cole early. Cole attempted to leave, but Dream bashed his car with a baseball bat. They had an Uber come in, and Dream actually threw Cole into an Uber. Dream was then caught by Cole with a fire extinguisher. Dream came back, but he jumped into a punt kick by Adam Cole. Adam Cole went for a Panama Sunrise off the apron, but Dream caught him with a super kick. Dream then brought a ladder out from underneath the ring, and he set up Adam Cole on the hood of a car. And he was going for a purple Rainmaker off of the ladder until Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish showed up. So they came in a car, and Adam Cole, he was able to fight out of the position that he was in. He was up on top of the ladder, but Dream punched him off the ladder, and Adam Cole went back first onto a car windshield, and the windshield shattered. He was bleeding on his arm, cut from the glass. Adam Cole's got some balls for taking that spot. I know that it's painful. It's painful enough to get tossed onto a car windshield, but it's even more painful to fall from a ladder onto a car windshield. That's twice as bad. That's 3 times as bad. So Adam Cole's got some balls for taking a spot like that. You got to give Adam Cole props there. The Undisputed Era end up getting involved. Strong and Fish, they started attacking Dream, and then they started throwing in chairs into the ring from the monster truck. But out of nowhere, Dexter Lumis shows up, and this was my favorite part of the entire thing. Dexter Lumis shows up out of nowhere. Lumis starts taking out Strong and Fish. Strong and Fish were tossed into the trunk, and then the trunk got locked, and then Dexter Lumis drove away with Fish and Strong in the trunk. I was laughing my ass off. I don't know about you. I was laughing my ass off. I thought that was hilarious. I thought this was hilarious. Dexter Lumis coming in. He doesn't care. He locks Strong and Fish in the trunk and then drives away with them in the trunk. That was great. So, then we get back into the ring, and this is where things started to pick up. After Dexter Lumis showed up, this is where things started to pick up. We had the Dream Valley Driver for 2, and then Dream hit the Purple Rainmaker on the pile of steel chairs for a very close 2 count. Then Adam Cole was being talked down to by the Velveteen Dream until Adam Cole hit a huge low blow on the Velveteen Dream. And then he hit the Panama Sunrise, beautiful Panama Sunrise, on the pile of steel chairs, and it looked brutal. It looked brutal, and Adam Cole pins the Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream can no longer challenge for the NXT Championship as long as Cole is champion. Cole continues his legendary reign as the NXT Champion. This started out very lackluster, very uncreative, and very disappointing in the beginning, but then after Dexter Lumis showed up, then we got some nice spots with Dexter Lumis driving away with the Undisputed Era in the trunk, and we did get some nice spots with Adam Cole falling on the ladder, the Purple Rainmaker on the chairs, the Panama Sunrise on the chairs, but overall, it did not live up to expectations. It did not live up to expectations, and it was probably the worst cinematic match out of all the cinematic matches that have been produced within this pandemic era of wrestling. Although I still do not agree with it not main eventing. As far as the outcome goes, with the way that they built up the storyline, and the way that they built up Dream, I'm legitimately shocked. I'm legitimately shocked, and I am questioning why Velveteen Dream did not walk away the NXT champion. Realistically speaking, if you want to really go back, they've been building the storyline all the way back since September, when Velveteen Dream initially lost the North American title to Roderick Strong. And then Velveteen Dream got injured. They played up his injury. He was taken off of television because he was injured. And then he came back in February, thrusted into a feud with the Undisputed Era, and he targeted Adam Cole and the NXT Championship. And the way that they built this specific match, stemming from the Velveteen Dream's return in February, all signs pointed to Velveteen Dream walking away the NXT champion. I went into this thinking that Velveteen Dream was legitimately going to win the NXT Championship, and then we were going to get a rematch between Dream and Cole at the SummerSlam TakeOver in August. And then Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era were probably going to get called up in the fall. But based on what's going on right now, based on the era that we're living in, and the fact that Kyle O'Reilly has a weakened immune system, he has diabetes, and he has not been at the television tapings, which makes sense because he's looking out for his health, so you got to respect Kyle O'Reilly there. If Undisputed Era was to get called up, then they would have gotten called up as a unit. And during this era of professional wrestling, you're not going to have the Undisputed Era get called up if it's just 3 of them. You got to have all 4 of them. So Kyle O'Reilly, he's probably not going to be coming back for the rest of the year. We're probably not going to see Kyle O'Reilly until 2021 when we finally get crowds back. You know, some events have been rescheduled until November. But I don't even think we're going to get crowds back in November. I would like to hope, but I don't think so. So we're probably not going to see Kyle O'Reilly for the rest of the year. So Undisputed Era being called up, it really wouldn't have made any sense because Kyle O'Reilly's not there. So if Adam Cole lost the NXT Championship, then realistically speaking, the next option would have been a rematch with the Velveteen Dream, and then in the fall, they would have been called up. But it doesn't really look like that this is ending in the fall. So I don't really know what you want me to say there, but all signs really pointed to Velveteen Dream walking out as the NXT champion. Based on what happened, you're not going to call the Undisputed Era up if you don't have all of them. So Adam Cole retaining, it was probably the best decision in that regard if you weren't going to call the Undisputed Era up. Because the Undisputed Era, once Adam Cole lost the championship, what do they have left to prove in NXT? As far as Velveteen Dream goes, it was nice knowing you, Dream. Nice knowing you, Patrick Clark. He is going to be destroyed. And I mean destroyed on the main roster. He is going to be destroyed. He is never going to feel the same, no matter where he goes, whether he goes to Raw, even though he shouldn't go to Raw because Raw is already stacked. He'll get lost in the shuffle over there. Just look at Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair has not been used on Raw in 2 months, and she's been called up since WrestleMania. She's not been used in 2 months. Dream would get lost in the shuffle on Monday Night Raw. If he goes to SmackDown, everyone on SmackDown is going to get watered down. But realistically speaking, SmackDown needs all the help that they can get because their upper mid-card to main event scene is the worst it's ever been. Matt Riddle's already going up to SmackDown. Dream also needs to go up to SmackDown. SmackDown needs all the help that they can get. They need as many shots of adrenaline in the arms as they possibly can get. So Dream, realistically, I can see him going to SmackDown with Matt Riddle. So that way they can start molding the upper mid-card to the main event scene into something of substance. Because you got Miz and Morrison challenging for the Universal Championship this Sunday at Backlash. Great main event scene right there. As far as Adam Cole goes, who does he challenge? Who does he challenge at the TakeOver in August, should they have one? I don't know. I do not know. I really do not know. Because you take a look at the people that they have in the upper mid-card to main event scene on NXT, it's too soon for Karrion Kross to be in the main event scene. Keith Lee is the North American champion. The Dream can't challenge for the title as long as Cole is champion. Tommaso Ciampa lost. Johnny Gargano lost. Damian Priest lost. The only person that realistically makes sense here is Finn Balor. Because Finn Balor has the most momentum. Finn Balor has been beating everyone this year. He beat Ilya Dragunov. He beat Johnny Gargano. He beat Fabian Eichner. He beat Alexander Wolf. He beat Damian Priest here. Finn Balor's been running through everyone. Realistically speaking, if you're going to have a takeover to piggyback off of SummerSlam, you would want to do the best possible NXT Championship match that you could possibly do with the biggest names. So it only makes sense. It only makes sense that Finn Balor, since he has the most momentum and he's the biggest name in NXT that's been gaining the most wins this year, it only makes sense that Finn Balor would be the one to challenge Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. And if that's the case, then that means that Adam Cole's going to retain. Adam Cole's going to retain, and he's going to continue his NXT Championship reign going into the fall. And I can definitely see him losing the championship at the fall NXT TakeOver, possibly to Keith Lee. And I'll explain why Keith Lee in just a minute. But overall, the match was disappointing in the beginning. It picked up towards the end, but it did not live up to the hype that I expected it to live up to for an NXT Championship match, even with the Backlot Brawl stipulation. And I'm very, very shocked that the Dream did not walk out the NXT champion, considering how they built the storyline and how they built up the Dream, stemming all the way back since September. But if Kyle O'Reilly is not coming back anytime soon because of the era that we're living in and he's looking out for his health, then you're not going to call up the Undisputed Era to either Raw or SmackDown unless you have all of them. And again, we could not be seeing Kyle O'Reilly back until the end of the year when all of this bullshit is finally over. And they finally got a cure and they finally got the crowds back. So realistically speaking, this was probably the best route to go, because if Adam Cole was to lose the title, you couldn't have the Undisputed Era floating around in NXT doing nothing. It would be time for the Undisputed Era to go up. So Adam Cole, I can't see losing the championship until the fall. Tommaso Ciampa versus Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross and his WrestleMania-like entrance. I love it. Love it every time. Everyone loves it. He has been doing great. I love that they got his real-life girlfriend, Scarlett, involved. She's been adding so much to his character as well. Tommaso Ciampa is Tommaso Ciampa. Can't really say much about Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa is a beast in every sense of the word. You gotta love and you gotta respect Tommaso Ciampa. This match I was the most interested in because I wanted to see what Karrion Kross could do with someone like Tommaso Ciampa. I was genuinely interested to see what Karrion Kross could bring to the table with a guy like Tommaso Ciampa. Now, this match only went about 5-6 minutes, but they booked the match beautifully. This was probably the best route they could have gone, and they fit so much into so little time. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Tommaso Ciampa got crushed. He didn't get crushed. This, in a sense, reminded me of Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin from Revolution. Remember that match? That match only went 5 minutes, but they packed so much shit into that match. They looked to have the most effective 5 to 6 minute match that they could have. And it seemed like Tommaso Ciampa and Karrion Kross, they tried to do the same. They wanted to have the most effective 5 to 6 minute match that you could possibly have. Was it better than Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin? No. I'm going to have to say no, but they still did a very good job. It's not something that you're going to go back and rewatch. It's not something that's going to be NXT Match of the Year. It was a very, very, very well-booked match that got Karrion Kross over in the way that they wanted to get Karrion Kross over. Tommaso Ciampa, he went right on the offense here against Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross actually took a big boot from Tommaso Ciampa, and he got right back up. He got right back up, similar to what Lars Sullivan did with Aleister Black at TakeOver Chicago when Aleister Black hit a black mass on Lars Sullivan, and Lars Sullivan got right back up. Karrion Kross suffered a big boot right to the face. He got right back up. He got right back up. So then we had a double choke bomb on the apron to Ciampa by Kross, and Ciampa looked like he landed hard on the apron on his upper shoulder neck area. That did not look good at all. So you got to watch the neck there for Ciampa. We had a big exploder suplex to Ciampa by Kross. Northern Lights suplex rolled through into a lariat, taking Ciampa's head off. Ciampa then started to fire back. Huge knee, sending Karrion Kross to the outside. Karrion Kross tried to get back into the ring, but Ciampa hit Willow's bell for a close 2 count. Ciampa then went for the fairy tale ending, but Karrion Kross countered, reversed it into an F10, not an F5, an F10, the one that Wardlow does. F10 to Tommaso Ciampa. And then Kross locked in the cross jacket. And Tommaso Ciampa did not tap out. Did not tap. He passed out. Tommaso Ciampa passes out to the cross jacket within 5 to 6 minutes after a very, very, very effective match that got Karrion Kross over in the exact way that they wanted him to go over. And Karrion Kross wins here by technical submission. Karrion Kross beats Tommaso Ciampa in convincing fashion here at NXT TakeOver in your house. Ciampa, he looked like a beast in defeat, and in return, he made Karrion Kross look like an absolute monster. And with the way that they have been booking Karrion Kross and the heavy investment that they have in Karrion Kross right now, I would be legitimately surprised if Karrion Kross is not your new NXT North American champion by the TakeOver in August. Now, I say this mainly because of the fact that with the heavy amount of investment that you have in Karrion Kross, he's only going 2 ways. He's only going 2 ways. He's either going straight to the top and he's going to be a champion before the end of the year, or he's going up to the main roster. And I don't see him going up to the main roster. I don't see him factoring into anything on the main roster. Meanwhile, in NXT, you have Adam Cole as the NXT champion. And it's too soon for Karrion Kross to be in that scene. You're not going to end Adam Cole's NXT championship reign with Karrion Kross, and Karrion Kross can't take a loss. So the next best thing, the best possible option for him right now, is the NXT North American Championship. Keith Lee's had a great run with the NXT North American Championship. It wasn't going to end at the hands of Johnny Gargano, but now, with the amount of investment that they have in Karrion Kross, I can definitely see Karrion Kross winning a few more matches, and then he's going to be put up against Keith Lee at the SummerSlam TakeOver, should they decide to do one. Keith Lee's a beast. Karrion Kross is a beast. Why not put 2 beasts together and have a King Kong versus Godzilla-like clash for the NXT North American Championship? I don't know about you, but I would say beating Tommaso Ciampa in 6 minutes does constitute as a valid case of why you should be getting a championship opportunity. Like I said, he's not going to end Adam Cole's championship reign. Keith Lee is probably the best option for him. You can imagine Karrion Kross hitting an F10 on Keith Lee and locking in the cross jacket on Keith Lee, and Karrion Kross passes out Keith Lee, and he becomes the North American champion. Whoever beats Karrion Kross for the North American Championship, That's really going to make them into a star. Whoever beats Karrion Kross for the North American title, Karrion Kross could end up going on to have the longest reigning NXT North American Championship reign to date if he wins the North American Championship. Karrion Kross is going to be an absolute beast should he become North American. He's already a beast, but he's going to be an absolute monster, even more so when he wins the North American Championship. And as for Keith Lee, I could see Keith Lee losing the title to Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross ends Keith Lee's great North American title reign, and then in the fall, we're going to get Adam Cole versus Keith Lee, and Keith Lee is going to become the new NXT champion to close out 2020, and Keith Lee's going to go into the new year as the NXT champion, and we're going to get Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano revisited, and we're going to get Johnny Gargano beating Keith Lee for the NXT championship in 2021. Rhea Ripley versus Io Shirai versus Charlotte Flair. Triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship. Are you ready for 2 hard doses of reality right here? I'm going to give you 2 hard doses of reality right here. Number 1, this match should not have main evented. No matter how awesome it was, and it was an awesome triple threat. It was a great triple threat. All 3 women brought it, and it will probably go down as one of the best women's matches, maybe even the best women's match of the entire pandemic era of wrestling. And I mean that wholeheartedly. It could very well go down as the best women's match throughout the pandemic era of wrestling. All 3 women brought it. All 3 women shined brightly in this match. This was a great triple threat. It was an excellent triple threat match with the right winner in the end. It was very well done. But did this deserve the main event? No. You know why? It's because this was not built as the most important thing going into the show. Rhea Ripley has lost all of her momentum after that horrendous booking decision to have Charlotte Flair win the NXT Women's Championship. Io Shirai has been shafted, and she just came back from a knee injury and won the opportunity to compete for the NXT Women's title. Charlotte, don't even get me started on Charlotte. Don't even get me started on Charlotte. I have used every possible negative word in the English language, and I could possibly use every other negative word in every other language to describe how much I can't stand Charlotte Flair. I have used every single negative word in the English language to rant about Charlotte Flair since the Rumble, so much so that I should literally just get a tape recorder, record everything about Charlotte Flair on a tape recorder, and then just press play, sit back here, drink my water, and let the tape recorder do all the work for me whenever I talk about Charlotte Flair. Because I don't know what I could say that I haven't already said about Charlotte Flair. I'm literally just repeating myself. That's why I should just get a tape recorder. This isn't Sasha versus Bayley from TakeOver Respect. That was main event worthy. This isn't Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler from NXT back at the end of 2019. That was main event worthy. And no one complained about that. I wasn't complaining about those 2 matches main eventing the shows that they did. You know why? Because of the build, the booking, and the production of the storyline, of the match, and of the superstars involved. All of those things were built, booked, and produced to the best of their abilities to be the most important thing going into those specific shows. That's why I was not complaining when Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler main evented NXT that night. I was not complaining when Sasha and Bayley main evented NXT TakeOver Respect that night. Because of the build, the booking, and the production. They built it to be the most important thing going into the show. You take a look at how those women were built versus how the women in this match were built. It's not the same. It's not the same. You take a look at Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream, regardless of whether the match was disappointing or not, and regardless of whether it was lackluster, that storyline had the most build. That storyline had the most build, and it was for the NXT Championship. World titles, main event, the shows. Unless you have something that is built and booked and produced to be way more important than the world title, like you had Undertaker and Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 26, or you have Sasha and Bayley from TakeOver Respect, or you have Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley from NXT on December 18th. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This match should not have main evented. Another thing This match should not have even been happening. You know why this match was happening? Because they needed to correct their mistake from what they did at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley should have beaten Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, and Rhea Ripley should have dropped the title to Io Shirai in a one-on-one match here. But instead, you elected to give Charlotte Flair the championship because Vince McMahon had to get Charlotte Flair on NXT because he apparently thinks that Charlotte Flair is going to draw ratings. Meanwhile, she's been drawing people away from NXT for the last 2 months. This has been the longest 2 months of my life watching Charlotte Flair hold the NXT Women's Championship. They needed to correct their mistake. That's exactly what they did. Now, I'm still scared and I'm still apprehensive because of what happened on the conference call with Triple H and what he teased. We'll go over that. But regardless of whether this should have happened or not, regardless of whether this should have main evented or not, which it shouldn't have, this was an awesome triple threat match. This was a great triple threat match. The best match of the night, and definitely one of the best women's matches of the pandemic era of wrestling. And we got the right winner in the end. So we had Charlotte Flair in control to start the match. Rhea Ripley was sent into the plexiglass. Charlotte Flair then sent Io into Rhea Ripley. Io came in. She was halted by Charlotte. Io then hit a 619 and a roll-through double stomp on Charlotte Flair for a close 2 count. We had a big double spear by Charlotte Flair. She pinned Io, but Io kicked out. She then set up Rhea and Io side by side, and she was going for her moonsault, but Rhea got the knees up. But Charlotte Flair ended up hitting a big boot on Rhea for a 2. We had a big springboard drop kick by Shirai to Rhea. Natural selection to Io Shirai for a 2. Big suicide dive taking out Rhea, but Charlotte Flair then tossed Io Shirai through the window set of TakeOver in Your House. Io Shirai was taken out momentarily. Rhea Ripley then threw a potted plant at Charlotte Flair. They started brawling. Io, out of nowhere, I wasn't even paying attention to Io. Io climbed the set. Of In Your House. Io was on top of the roof set for NXT TakeOver In Your House. She was high up there, and Io, with a huge cross body off of the set, taking out both Flair and Rhea Ripley. That was probably my favorite spot of the entire night. Shirai then fought out of the clutches of Rhea Ripley. Rhea was able to stop a Frankensteiner, but Charlotte Flair booted Io Shirai right in the chest. Rhea, she was on the receiving end of some punches from Flair. Flair went up to the middle rope with Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley countered and delivered an avalanche riptide the same way that she beat Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. But Io Shirai was there, just in time to break it up. Then we had a reverse cloverleaf on Rhea Ripley before Charlotte Flair came in with a kendo stick, the same kendo stick that she used to take out Io Shirai in their one-on-one match for the NXT Women's Championship on NXT last month. Shirai was taken out momentarily. Rhea was on the receiving end of a lot of kendo stick shots. Big spear by Charlotte Flair. Figure 4 into the figure 8. And this is where I was scared because I thought that Rhea Ripley was going to tap. I thought that Charlotte Flair was going to win and she was going to retain the title here. But Io Shirai out of nowhere with a huge moonsault right across the face of Rhea Ripley. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Rhea Ripley's face was destroyed in this. Io Shirai with a huge moonsault. It looked like if Io Shirai landed any other way, that Rhea Ripley's nose probably would have gotten broken under Io Shirai's weight. But a moonsault to Rhea Ripley while Rhea Ripley was still in the figure 8 position, and Charlotte Flair's legs were trapped underneath Rhea Ripley's legs. So Charlotte Flair could not release the hold. Moonsault by Shirai, and Io pins Rhea for the win. Io Shirai is your new NXT Women's Champion in a great triple threat match. Probably one of the best booking decisions that they made all year. They needed to correct their mistake. They corrected their mistake, and finally, Io Shirai gets her due. I know for a fact that TM, shout out to him. He's extremely happy about that. TM is extremely happy about that. And he was actually tweeting away with his Io Shirai t-shirt. He was very happy that Io Shirai came out victorious. So shout out to him. Io Shirai wins. And Io Shirai closes out TakeOver in your house as the NXT Women's Champion. Now, why did this match main event? I had a feeling originally when I saw that the NXT title match was going on third to last, I had a feeling that it was because of Vince McMahon thinking that Charlotte Flair is a draw, and we were going to have Charlotte Flair beat both Rhea and Io in the main event of TakeOver just to shove it down everyone's throats. That was my original thought. That was my original thought. But then Io Shirai won. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe this has something to do with the Hana Kimura incident. I don't know for sure. It's a possibility. I'm just bringing that possibility to the table. I'm not completely sure if that's the reason why. It definitely seems that way, considering that it was a nice tribute to Hana Kimura to see Io Shirai win the NXT Women's Championship in the main event of a TakeOver and become the champion. And now she is the ace of NXT's women's division. Nice tribute to Hana Kimura right there. I'm not sure if that's the case. Truthfully, we may never know why this match main evented. We may never know why this match main evented. But regardless of that, Io Shirai is your new NXT Women's Champion. Well overdue. She wins the title that she should have initially taken off of Rhea Ripley. She wins the title that she should have initially taken off of Rhea Ripley. I feel bad for Rhea Ripley. I just want to say that before we get into anything else. I feel terrible for Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley had all the momentum in the world. And all of that was wasted. All of that was fucking wasted. All for Charlotte Flair. And now Io Shirai was the one that pinned Rhea Ripley. Of course she pinned Rhea Ripley. Of course she pinned Rhea Ripley. Did you actually think this was the exact outcome that I expected? The exact outcome that I expected. Because did you honestly think that Vince McMahon was going to have Charlotte Flair get pinned by Io Shirai? We've seen the treatment of people like Io Shirai on the main roster. Just look at what happened to Asuka. And the only reason why Asuka is being treated good right now is because Kairi Sane's leaving after her contract is up and after this pandemic is over. Look at Kairi Sane's treatment. Put in 3 matches with Nia Jax, and she got cut right on the side of the cranium because of Nia Jax's recklessness. So of course, Io Shirai pins Rhea. Do you actually think that Charlotte Flair was going to take the pinfall? You think that Charlotte Flair was going to take the pinfall? This is the exact outcome that I expected. If Charlotte Flair was going to lose the title this soon, it was going to be in this match, and it was going to be with Io pinning Rhea. And that's exactly what happened. I can see Io Shirai holding the title for the rest of the year. Although, I am actually very scared. I'm very apprehensive because originally I thought that we were going to get Rhea versus Io for the NXT Women's Championship, possibly at the SummerSlam TakeOver, but Triple H did tease the fact that we could get Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship at the TakeOver before SummerSlam. And that I am not a fan of whatsoever. You know for a fact that this has Vince McMahon written all over it. Vince McMahon has been watching Triple H like a hawk in NXT. Everything that Triple H has said, all these positive comments that Triple H has been saying about Charlotte Flair being the NXT Women's Champion and how it benefited Rhea Ripley and these dumb fucking comments that Triple H has been saying, the reason why he's saying that is because Vince McMahon is watching him. Vince McMahon is watching him like a hawk. He even said it was Vince McMahon's decision to have Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. It was Vince McMahon's decision to have Charlotte Flair go over Rhea Ripley. It wasn't Triple H's decision. That was Vince's show. Charlotte is Vince McMahon's girl. So, of course, Vince McMahon is watching Triple H like a hawk, so Triple H needs to stay within the guidelines, and Triple H needs to stay within everything that Vince McMahon tells him to stay within. That's why Rhea Ripley was the one pinned here. And now we're possibly going to see Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai at TakeOver before SummerSlam. I don't like that whatsoever, because now that's a possibility that Charlotte Flair could become the 3-time NXT Women's Champion. And Charlotte Flair's actually in a match with Asuka tonight on Monday Night Raw. I don't know where Rhea Ripley goes from here. She could go up to the main roster, and it sucks that she's going up with no momentum. She could very well go and face off against Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship, but I would personally love to see Charlotte Flair go away for the rest of the year. Matter of fact, I would not complain if Charlotte Flair would take an extended vacation all the way to 2022, because after what has happened over the course of the last 6 months, I don't want to see Charlotte Flair in anything on WWE television whatsoever, whether it be on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. I could do without Charlotte Flair. Please, I could do without Charlotte Flair. Now they're already teasing Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai at NXT TakeOver before SummerSlam. That I don't like whatsoever, because now Charlotte Flair could possibly become a 3-time NXT Women's Champion, and based on WWE's track record, and you know for a fact that Vince has been watching Triple H's booking of Charlotte Flair in NXT, do you honestly think, just be honest, do you honestly think that they're going to allow Io Shirai to pin Charlotte Flair, whether it be clean or not? Do you honestly think that they're going to allow Io Shirai to go over someone like Charlotte Flair based on this company's track record? I've said this before. Seeing is believing. And until I see it happen, I do not believe it. And WWE hasn't given you any reason to believe that whatsoever. And here's the best part about it. I'm not the only one that thinks that way. I'm not the only one that's saying it. There's a lot of podcasters, a lot of content creators, a lot of YouTubers, and a lot of plain old flat-out wrestling fans that are saying the exact same thing. I'm not the only one in this camp. I'm not the only one in this boat. Seeing is believing, and if we do get Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai, I refuse to believe. I refuse to believe that they're going to do the right thing and pass the torch from Charlotte Flair to Io Shirai. I refuse to believe that. But regardless, I got a little carried away there with my rant. This is an awesome triple threat, right winner. I can't complain about that, but I can definitely complain about the fact that we could very well get Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai at TakeOver before SummerSlam. The fact that Rhea Ripley has been shafted and she's lost all of her momentum, and the fact that we're still getting Charlotte Flair on television after tonight against Asuka, of all people. But overall, I would rate this a 5.5 to 6 out of 10. Not up to usual TakeOver standards because of what's going on with the pandemic, but it was still a decent NXT TakeOver. We did get some great wrestling. We did get some questionable decisions. Some things were lackluster. The beginning of the NXT North American title match was lackluster, including the cinematic match between Cole and Dream. That was probably the worst cinematic match of the pandemic era so far. But we did get the right decision with Io Shirai coming out victorious in the end. We did get a great match between Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Karrion Kross looks great. Overall, decent NXT TakeOver. Was it better than Double or Nothing? Nope. Nope, it was not. I know a lot of people are saying, support all wrestling. Both shows were great. Gotta be realistic, people. Double or Nothing was better than TakeOver in your house. TakeOver Portland was better than Revolution. I am realistic. I am fair. I say which was better and which was not. TakeOver in your house was not better, and it was not even equal to Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing 2, clearly better than TakeOver in your house, but that doesn't mean that TakeOver in your house was bad. Decent NXT TakeOver. They did a very good job with what they were given. Could it have been better? Absolutely. Could they have booked some of the matches better? Absolutely. But it's not a WWE show without flaws. No show's flawless. You gotta remember that. No show's flawless. Not even TakeOver New York. Not even TakeOver Orlando. Not even TakeOver New Orleans. No show's flawless. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the rewind for NXT TakeOver in your house. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. I will be back later this week for the rundown for Backlash on Friday, and of course the Lightning Flash update on Saturday, that is, and the rewind for Backlash going up next Monday. I got a busy week ahead of me. I got to go back to work this week. I don't want to, but I have to. I got a car to pay for. Obviously, obviously, you can't really do too much about that. I do have an online class starting on the 23rd, social media marketing, planning on hanging out with a few people as well, trying to get everything back together. It's going to be a very busy summer. It's going to be a very active summer. I got plenty of more content coming to you guys this month and throughout the rest of the summer. I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind. You guys have a great night. I will catch you later tonight. I'll be live tweeting and taking my notes in my signature notepad. My signature Storms pad is what I'm calling it. I know it's cheesy, but I wouldn't be who I am if I don't do some cheesy knockoff with the word Storms in it. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you tonight for Monday Night Raw. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. And I will see you on Friday for the rundown for Backlash.